welcome to Varagadamu. The Great Rift Valley Innovation Summit 2025, the first of its kind, was held here in Addis Ababa over the weekend. Aimed at promoting innovation, it has already selected 18 candidates from a large pool of applicants who will now receive grants to kickstart their ventures. How did it all come together? My guest, Lulite Ejigu, is the driving force behind the summit. A very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So the Great Rift Valley Innovation Summit 2025?
Yes.
You're having it for the first time.
Yes. It's going to be a really great movement. So we're really excited.
Movement because innovation is the catchword these days, or?
No, actually. It's actually a movement because it's almost just accelerating the work, the impact, and kind of the future, I think, of the continent. So I think the innovation kind of, like you said, it becomes like a big buzzword, and we use it a lot, and we don't really understand what that means. And I think that for us, innovation is about the place to kind of start on the level foot, right? It's a place where everyone is equal. Everyone can take the same amount of information, leverage their ideas, and create something new. And so I think that we haven't really had this type of revolution in a long time, right? You talk about manufacturing or servicing or real estate or development. All of it requires a very heavy investment, very heavy infrastructure. And innovation is not like that. It actually is a place where, from a developing perspective, it kind of gives you a close to an equal footing so that, tomorrow you could actually compete globally. So that's how we look at it.
Are we not a bit too late into that?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that it's there. I mean, of course, there's certain advancements that would take a lot of maybe machinery or other resources that you still need, right? Or access, education, the talent pool. But there's also so much that still has been uncovered. Just anything. You talk about software developments, a lot of the generative AI. All of it is still it's iterative, right? So that means it's like the machine is still learning, like the information, the input is still providing new outputs. So I think that that's really exciting. The other piece of it is when you take a lot of these revolutions or a lot of these new investments in industries, it takes billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. And we haven't done that. We haven't made those investments. So it's almost like you're able to take what's already been built by someone else where they provided tons of money around research and development. You're able to take that and start and build from there. So that's a huge opportunity. It's a revolution that I don't think we've really been able to play a part in, in the recent, modern century. And so I think that's a really great opportunity for us to think about how do we, I think, China did this a lot, right? U.S. will do a whole bunch of research and development, and then China will take that and then copy it and then add something else.
And you have the AI thing just came out this past week, which is overtook the ChatGPT.
Yeah,
this is a Chinese one.
This is happening this is happening every day.
Right.
I've seen different drones from different parts of the world, and now I've seen, I think, one out of China. It might have been on TikTok. I'm not going to lie. And they literally threw it in the air, and it looked like a bird. It was so advanced. That's the type of stuff that's happening, and it's happening so quickly that it's about identifying what's out there and being able to see, hey, what can we add? How can we improve this? How can we advance? And how we can take advantage of kind of like the energy in the market and the fast transformation that's happening.
What is out there in Ethiopia? What is the innovation landscape like, you think?
It's a bit fragmented, which kind of is understandable. You have the actual innovators themselves, many young entrepreneurs. We're partnering with a group called EYA, so it's the Ethiopian Youth Entrepreneurship Association, and just seeing their ideas and how they see their innovations and how they see it operating in the marketplace, but there may not be the best platform for them. There may not be the best understanding in regards to policymakers as we're providing the ecosystem. Interesting enough, our finalists, the biggest concern that they had were the tax documents. And I wouldn't have even thought of that prior to, doing the GRV. I wouldn't have ever thought about that. So like really incorporating our post-summit work really in regards to the regulatory agencies, the policy making, the advisor, the mentorship, and then also providing them service grants so that they have support in regards to marketing their product, servicing their product, if they have a gap in finance or accounting or these things that you need to have. It's not just all engineers that's going to build a company, right? You need all the functions. And sometimes I see that's kind of where it's lacking, but also thinking through how to kind of integrate that into the entire ecosystem. So I think that's a lot of groups doing a lot of things, but I think that that's why, as far as the diaspora plays a very particular role, because they understand the international landscape. They're working at those companies. They're working at the big tech companies. They're working at the Fortune 500 companies. And they have an understanding of how to both be a worker and also understand the marketplace. So how the global market works. And I really believe that Ethiopia doing startups for Ethiopia's market will never succeed. It's there to fail. So if we're not doing something in Ethiopia that's there to compete and there to understand the global competitive landscape, then we shouldn't be doing it at all. So I think that that's really our goal, which is why we ended up giving more money than like any other startup. Is it because from a diaspora perspective, we said, okay, what's missing here? It's the mentorship, it's the advisory, it's the understanding of the other traditional functions of what makes a big company. And then how do we engage them in the international landscape so they can truly compete and see how to build that infrastructure.
But you have limited yourself to education, health, and agriculture, right?
For this first time. Yeah, so we're creating, we wanted to start somewhere, and we wanted to start places where we had the most social impact and where we believe innovation or technology can help leapfrog and kind of be more of that catalyst to create more energetic change, And so I think that it's hard because one, you pick a sector, people's like, wait, what about that sector? What about that sector? So we picked three, the core functions of our local farmers, 70% are, local farmers in Ethiopia. This is a vast common theme throughout the continent. So that was also a bigger piece too. How does this integrate with where the continent is in regards to specific sectors and where we can see that advancement? And then also really wanting to focus on the youth. It was really important. I know that a lot of, my parents' generation, I'm first generation, so born in the U.S., and a lot of their generation, they didn't want to leave Ethiopia. They didn't want to leave their home. They were left either through, other trauma or refugees, different things that displaced us around the world, right? But, we call those displaced peoples now diaspora, right? Whether by choice or by force or by circumstance. And I think it was really important to start somewhere, start with the youth, and a place that would be apolitical, wouldn't be religion focused, wouldn't be ethnic focused, that we wouldn't talk about economic class, some place that would bring everybody needs health. Everybody needs proper food. Everybody needs proper education. And I think that having that level of just humanity at the center of it, I think was important from a diaspora perspective because there's so many things that divide us already. Exactly. And so we can't be divided on our young people. We can't be divided on our legacy.
That's very interesting. So you have availed, $750,000
US dollars, yes.
And you are looking forward to channeling that money to 18 companies.
Yes, 18 companies.
How many? Do you have a short list now?
Yeah, we have all of our finalists.
How many of them?
10 are young innovators, so they're going to be getting $10,000 grants, and they're more at the developmental stage of their startups. And then we have legacy builders, and those are what? Those are 8 finalists, and they're going to be going for the top 150,000 USD. Prize, big prize, and those are more on they're more growth stage. They're more expanding, scaling their companies. So
no collateral involved.
No collateral. Yep. We actually are working with a watch bank and some other other financial institutions too to think through not just initial seeds, but how we help support and scale up, because that's the biggest part to startups, especially in this ecosystem, is non-collateral lending. Yeah.
How many of these innovators have applied to?
Hundreds.
Hundreds,
yes.
And you've been working on this for the last 5 months? Is that what it was?
I would say it was birthed about a year ago, and about 5 months of actual execution planning. It took a while to think through the strategy. How would we do it? What would we do? what would we need, what are the different pieces that are missing, and how would we play a significant role? And then what do we have to offer? So I think from a diaspora perspective, it's not just finances, but it's also the network, it's the advisory, it's the influence, within the communities themselves, and it's also this deep, deep need to give back. And nobody knows how to give back. It's okay, can we give through this mahabar, through this, adir, these different things that we do in order to provide our support to the community, but we wanted to have a more systemic, more structured way because we don't want to just give and leave. We want to be able to figure out how we can create the proper ecosystem for that.
So you have established the robust institution that would take care of this in the years ahead?
Yes, we've developed basically leveraging our foundation of how we kind of built our organization and then building different partners here locally in Addis and making sure that we can leverage our networks, create an institution to where we can match both the giver to the receiver.
Are you taken seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just getting started, basically.
Weirdly enough,
When
the idea stage, no, we weren't taken seriously because I think, understandably so, we can say a lot of things, but people say a lot of stuff, and I think it's really about what action do you take. And I think that when we're sitting down, we can sit down like this. I think that the energy and the passion and I think the authenticity of what we're trying to do, people tend to pick up on that energy and people tend to say, okay, yes, we want to help. We want to figure out how can we work together.
And other institutions, the government is into it?
No,
right?
No government.
I mean, support, you're going to deal with several government institutions as you go along.
Yes, we are.
Private initiative.
Yeah, of course. I think that it's a private initiative, and I think that it was really important for us to focus on the private sector and focus on that support because I think from a public perspective, you're dealing with larger companies, larger institutions, ones that have scaled up to become focused in the public sector. But these are not. These are like the small, middle enterprise types of size companies.
Right.
So I think that, we are working with UNDP. They've done a lot of stuff with the Capital Authority and and a lot of the ecosystem around that. They're very knowledgeable. So they're a big partner in helping us understand the tax and the regulatory, the new proclamations that have been come out. So we can help. And we're actually doing workshops with the summit, with our organizations in regards to that, so that our community of entrepreneurs really understand how to adhere to those regulatory proclamations and policies.
Because you're dealing with institutions.
Yes, of course. And I think that
and they need to get ready for that kind of engagement. That's why I raised this.
And if you take a small startup, why would they get the voice or why would they hear be at the table at a policy decision, right? So I think that we're using our different partners to help facilitate that. And I think that we will be moving into more of a more institutionalized way of doing that, like in more of like putting together a think tank that's going to put together both the financial institutions, policymakers, nonprofit, investment types of donors as well too. So I think that we're going to be in a good place, and I think that we've gotten the right partners at the table thus far, and I'm sure that that's going to continue to expand. But it was really important for us to stay private, to be really focused on the economy, because the key piece here is how do we stay connected? How do we not get into a place where we get extremely divided and we stay focused on how do we develop, how do we move the economy forward? And everyone will win in that scenario.
Right. And the funding comes from the Ethiopian diaspora, basically, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you've been working on that for several years.
Yes, we were founded back in 2018, along with a huge shift, a huge call to come back home, a huge call to kind of identify how to help. We didn't know how to do that. It had never been done before. We actually got reached out by many different African countries, actually, on how we did it. And we were like, hey, we just started. We don't know what we're doing yet. And so, we all had great intentions, a good amount of energy, a good amount of focus, but it takes time to build a structure. It takes time to bring the groups together. It takes time to be together on a mission, too. Like, how do you want to affect that change? And what do you think is the best place to start? So I think that we started that in the more traditional places. And I think that as we move to innovation, we move to kind of figuring out how do we multiply that impact across the board.
You've organized the summit here in Addis Ababa, Doilong 1, 2 days actually, right? Mm-hmm. There are a workshop, basically, a panel discussion and so on. What have you achieved?
So we have achieved a new platform, a new place to bring the different people together where everyone can Like if you're a startup, you can focus on building your startup. If you're a policy worker, you can figure out how to draft the right policies. If you are, someone who is investing, you have a structure of a system, a place where you can have trusted investments, trusted place to kind of know that whatever amount that you're trying to give or whatever impact you're trying to make, that it can be achieved. And so I think that that's what we accomplished, and not to mention that we accomplished supporting, 18 companies. And 18 companies are now our family. Those 18 people have 4 or 5 different founders or team members. So you're talking about at a minimum 100 people and 100 different families. So that's the multiplication of it. It was really special, but also I think we planted a seed. I think we planted a seed in 2025, one that I think in the next 5 years is going to almost double year over year. So I think that coming back in 2026, we're not only going to be able to see how these companies evolved, what they did with the support, not just financial, but also the advisory, the mentorship, and the connectivity of the network we're building.
And also their contribution to the economy.
And their contribution. I hope that these 18 companies are the ones that are going to give us the funding for the next 18.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
Yeah. And I think that my goal is to see a unicorn come out of Ethiopia. I want to see a grand scale. I want to see an Amazon. I want to see that happen. And I think that it's about understanding how to build something for service. If you're building something just to make a check, just to make a little money, just to provide for your family, it's going to stay in that space. It cannot grow past your vision. And so this was a marker, like a flag in the sand that says we're going to expand our vision. We're going to expand how we do things. And, we're going to figure out the structure and how to do that, too. We're not going to just have this lofty dream. We're going to put the steps on the ground, take the actions, work with the partners, and push. And I think that you have to be aggressive. And I think that that's something that I think the diaspora has had to learn and adopt to do. That might be in Ethiopia more modest. We're more modest about our ability to provide our gifts and be able to help and assist and provide a really great product. And I think that that's what the diaspora can do. It's about leveraging all of us. It's about leveraging all the gifts, all the resources, and making sure that we're advancing that next generation. Yeah.
What challenges do you foresee?
Oh, so many challenges. I mean, there's always challenges, but I think it's like there's challenges with this, right? Why are you giving out so much money? Every institution, every partner said, why are you giving out so much money? These young entrepreneurs can't hold this type of money. Great. But I bet you next year, as we kind of see these next pitches and these next ways that we're going to see how people come into this market, the scale, the ceiling is higher now. The expectation is higher. So you can't reach anything higher than what you've expected. So what our goal was to break the ceiling, I believe we've done that. And I think that we'll continue to be doing that as we kind of see the advancements in following these companies and including more and more to our community. Because there's tons of semifinalists, tons of other companies that we didn't have enough funding for this round. But I think that they'll be our next winners, and I think that they'll be engaged, and we might even see some of these companies merge. We might even see some of these companies be co-founders with one another because we're stronger together. And I think that's kind of what we want to leave, what we wanted to leave behind, and I think that we've done that.
Interesting. So when was it, 2 years ago, you ran for Congress, right?
Oh, yes. I did run for Congress. So
on a Republican ticket.
Yes.
But you didn't make it.
Yes,
Are you planning to run again?
No, I'm not planning to run again. I don't have any plans. I think I ran as a Republican, and I will say it was probably the shortest campaign probably ever. And I was afraid. I was really scared. I was really scared to run because I don't see myself as someone who's a politician. I'm really more back office. I don't want to be on camera. I'm not, that's not the type of person I am. I want to be in the back. I want to get the work done. And there was so much happening in the global conversation after COVID. There's so much happening in regards to the stories that are being told about Ethiopia and different groups. And it was so divisive. And I think that since I came here, I left JP Morgan and I came to Addis and I was back and forth for a little bit consulting. And when I was doing that, I realized that there's a completely different story being told on this continent in the market than there is overseas. So when I came back, it kind of left something in me, kind of planted a seed in me that like, oh my God, people don't know. We need to find somebody else to tell a different story. And that was really what drove me. I didn't know how.
Also as an African.
Yeah, and I didn't know how to show up. And so I was a Democrat all my life. I would say I was a moderate, I was independent. And I'm still consider myself pretty independent as far as thinking goes. But I found that there was a lot of abuse, there was a lot of manipulation, there was a lot of misinterpretation, misrepresentation of the advancement, the economic power, the pride that's happening on the continent. And that was really, really important to me, especially as, someone who's a first-generation Ethiopian in America. So I decided just to do it. I learned so much. I have a lot of good friends now, a lot of good people that are Republicans, that are Democrats, that understand our community and want to listen. So, no, I don't plan on running, but I will take an appointment.
Well, Lulite, good luck, and thank you very much for joining me for this interesting conversation. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.